the branding expert, Jonathan Gabay.
Back in 2008, Gordon Brown said, and I quote, he said, "Some people have been asking why I haven't served my children up for spreads in the paper. And my answer is simple. My children aren't props, they're people." That's what he said himself, Emily.
And the whole, yes, exactly. But the whole New Labour project in general has been built on personality. I mean, we knew everything about Tony Blair, thanks to Cherie's various revelations about, what she did with her contraceptive equipment.
And you don't think Cameron's built on personality?
Yeah. I do. I think that's the way he's projecting himself.
But what's happened, again, going back to that previous caller, okay, what's happened is that there's been so much response to this worldwide. Can I just say, it says here, I've got something coming here, and it's from Canada, and they're saying in the press in Canada, someone's saying that, it would have been more unlikely that we would have felt sorry for him if he would have reached for tissues. The fact that he didn't reach for tissues was a good ploy. A good ploy.
Yeah, it's,
do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
so this cynicism that you're talking about, John, it seems to be very widespread, and I think that this kind of packaging from the branding point of view, it's going to do nothing but actually push it. But on the other hand, as I said, I can understand why they're doing it.
If you've just missed the programme over the last 45 minutes or so, Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister, will be talking to Piers Morgan. In part of the interview, he talks about the death of his infant daughter, Jennifer. Have a listen to this.
We had a weekend where we just knew that she was not going to survive, and she was baptised, and we were with her, and I held her as she died. And it was, Sarah and I just we found it very difficult because it was our first child, and she was such a beautiful baby, and you couldn't see from anything that there was something so fundamentally wrong. But she'd suffered a brain hemorrhage, and we only found out after a week.
If you have missed the programme tonight, we have Jonathan Gabay, a branding expert, journalist Emily Hill for the website Spiked, talking about branding and positioning and a ploy. And that's a man who's lost his daughter. Now, the question is, should he be talking about such private issues on television? 0500 909 693. Tom, what do you think? Evening to you, Tom, in West Hampstead. Thank you for calling us.
Hi. Firstly, I'm surprised that there was a caller earlier questioning why the public might be cynical of such a ploy. My own opinion is that whilst I wouldn't like to say that those tears weren't genuine, I do feel uncomfortable with it because him being another dishonourable politician, it makes it feel almost like emotional blackmail to have to listen to that kind of thing from somebody of that character. If it be a politician that I trusted and I felt was honest, I could sort of accept it more.
Where's your humanity, though? Whether he's a Prime Minister or he's a bin man, where's your humanity and your empathy for a man who has lost his daughter and is talking about it, Tom?
Don't get it wrong. Gordon Brown doesn't want to go on television and talk about the death of his daughter. There's no question about that.
So why did he do it then?
He's been advised to do it.
Because of the Morgan
Because
thing?
it's a strategy to get the public support,
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy, and it's not Gordon Brown's strategy.
Yeah.
We shouldn't really blame the man. I think he's been slightly bullied into this.
David in Sheffield. Hello, David.
So Gordon Brown might be an hypocrite, he might be packaging, he might be everything. So all these Conservative supporters that's phoned up and criticising him, and I'm sorry if this upsets them, is that true with David Cameron when he lost his son Ivan? Because a few days later he was on the television saying how beautiful son were and how he died and everything else. Does that make him the same?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right there. That it's showing that both of these people, they have humility. That they are dads, and all these. In terms of what we've spoken about before, from the tragedy point of view, I don't want to go over that again. But what I'm saying is that if you look at the bigger picture in terms of the way that this has been packaged, if we're talking about the thing that I spoke about before, that they were saying, were you a bit of a boozer then, and that sort of idea, they're trying to show that he's not just this one-dimensional person, and that is the strategy, as you would say,
But
Emily.
they've tried to do it with everybody that you can name, sort of in the history of New Labour cabinets. I mean, we know all about David Blunkin, his breakdown. We know that John Prescott had bulimia but didn't lose any weight. We know that he was apparently allergic to digestive biscuits. I can't escape from Alistair Campbell promoting his book and telling me all about his his psychological problems via his blog. It's just a barrage of information. I mean, can you imagine Margaret Thatcher trying to retain power by going on about how traumatised she was by the Brighton bomb? It just
so where this is all going, Emily, what you're saying is that where this is all going is that in this world that we're living in, and Stephen, you say a cynical world, okay, fair enough, is that it really is the X factor in terms of the X being the X for the voting.
Yes.
And so this is really... Well, there you have it.
If you start
we are in a reality show.
But if you start knocking politicians for talking openly about things in their personal lives and you end up stopping it, I wonder what you get instead.
But why do you need to do that?
So what do you
It
get
just
instead?
seems baffling. I mean,
Emily,
would you vote for him because he's had a personal tragedy? Would you invite me on the radio because I've had a personal tragedy?
Well, the more information...
Surely my personal life has no bearing on how I do my job.
Emily, the more information you have about an individual, surely that empowers you as a voter.
And Emily, but he's right. That's what they're doing. They're trying to show, that there's more to this man, and so that when it comes to the actual vote itself, they will say, okay, I'm going to take that aspect of him into consideration, this aspect of him.
And are they going to weigh that more?
And let's face it, we as voters aren't stupid. So we're going to be able to take all this stuff in. And that is the reason that they're doing all this.
I think the British public are not thick.
Absolutely.
And they're going to regard his statement about there was no return to boom and bust, which there has been, more than, his absolutely understandable grief at the death of his daughter.
Mark's in Colchester. Hello to you, Mark.
Hello. I just can't believe the stick Gordon Brown is getting this evening. I find it absolutely unbelievable. For a start, let's get one thing right. When we went to the Falklands War, Mrs. Thatcher in the Daily Mail had a big two-page spread about how she got up every morning and wondered about her boys and thought how terrible it was.
But that's a different story.
The sun should be shining while she was
or the boys in the army.
A normal day.
Because
okay, so let's
hold on, Emily. Hold on, Emily. Hold on. Emily, you've got to let our caller speak.
Right.
Go ahead, Mark.
I've been appreciated. Emily's been on for quite a while now. So let's not talk. Let's not get into party politics here. I'm no great fan of New Labour, but what we've watched over the last 18 months, particularly since the death of Cameron's son, where Gordon Brown was very supportive of him, is personal attacks in Prime Minister's Question Time. I don't know if you guys watch Prime Minister's Question Time, but as far back as I can remember, it has basically been based on party policy. But Cameron has time and time again attacked Gordon Brown personally, and he did it again this week when he talked about how the party was secretive, was bullying, and was basically a sort of unpleasant organisation.
It's interesting you say that, Mark.
The man who runs it.
It's interesting you say that, Mark, isn't it? Because many people have talked about that we're heading towards a presidential style of politics here in Great Britain, in the United Kingdom, following on from what happens in America. And in America, it's very, very dirty. It's very personal as well, isn't it?
Can I just finish my point? Now, Cameron, as far as I can see, and I've watched it for a long, long time, is the first person who's really gone for the personality at the top of the opposition party. I think this gives Gordon Brown every right to come back.
Yeah, why not?
And to say, right, look, actually, I'm not this bloke that this guy is portraying me.
Yeah.
This is me. And I see no reason why he shouldn't do that.
But
I agree.
Can I just ask you about your opinion of Cameron? Because I would completely agree with you. I think personal attacks should just be out of bounds. It should be about policy. But do you like hearing about Cameron? Do I
like hearing about Cameron? No,
yeah.
He was on Jonathan Ross, going on about whether he wore boxer shorts or Y fronts, all sorts of inappropriate questions.
So you sort of agree that it's inappropriate, but you just think that Gordon Brown has to do it.
Emily, what Mark's saying, you were saying, Mark, about the idea about with Margaret Thatcher and about her boys and that sort of idea. That was kind of different, wasn't it, Mark? Because in that one, that was more carefully stage managed because what was happening there, she was talking about her boys, obviously about the troops and in our boys indeed, and so that was a different type of a thing. But where we've got to now, since those days of the Thatcher era, is it's a different kind of an approach. It's much more of a game show type of approach.
All right. Yeah. We're going to have to leave it there. Jonathan, lovely to talk to you tonight. I've enjoyed it. Branding expert Jonathan Gabay, and to you, Emily, and John Rentoul, the chief political commentator for The Independent on Sunday.